Hello and welcome to the Tuesday, May 17th, 2011 Audit Committee meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. First item we need to do is review and approve minutes from last committee meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review those minutes? And if they have questions or revisions, anybody have anything they'd like to? If there are none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Rolfing.
Second, Entenmann.
We have a motion to approve and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Minutes are approved. Next item on our agenda is we'd like to welcome our new member. We have a new CPA that is joining, Jason Forbes. Jason is with Thurman, Comus, and Foley here in town. And I think Rich is passing out Jason's card to everybody so we know how to communicate with Jason. But Jason, thank you for being here. It's part of the ordinance that requires a CPA to be on the audit committee. And we appreciate your involvement. Okay. Welcome, and now we need to move on to select a new chair of the audit committee. Brad Witzel was serving as chair, and his term has expired. So what we need to do here is have a nomination for a chair, and then we'll Councilor Aguilar.
I nominate Greg Jamieson.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a nomination. Are there any other nominations on that we'd like to see in? Okay, we have a nomination for Greg Jamieson from Councilor Aguilar and seconded by Councilor Rolfing. All those in favor say aye.
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 Jim?
Aye.
Okay, there, now we got it. All right, well, thank you. I'll do my best to serve as chair. Thank you. All right, move on to next item. 5 is a, Rich, are you taking this?
Yeah, I'll take that, just get it started. As this committee knows, our external auditor is Ide Bailey, which is, has an office in Sioux Falls. They have been doing our external audit, I believe, since 1989. The current agreement has expired, so in order to get external audit services for future years, we need to have a new agreement. We either have to several ways to do that. We could just have Ide Bailey do it again and sign a new agreement with them. What I'd recommend as a lead auditor would be the request for proposal process, RFP, where you solicit external audit services from any interested CPA firms and then make a determination of who you want to go with. We've had very good service from Ide Bailey. It has, they're very, very good, competent firm. It's kind of a specialized market for what we're asking for. There aren't a lot of firms that have the capabilities to do this. It has to usually have to be a larger firm that would have the, so to speak, the horsepower to do this. And for the last 5 or 6 years, we've asked the audit firm to have the field work done by middle of February and have the report out by the end of March, which it's a little harder for some firms to do since it's kind of middle of tax season. But anyway, the last time we went through this about 3 years ago, I had an RFP prepared just in case we wanted to go in that direction. We chose not to go that way, but I simply updated the dates on this RFP. It's about 5 pages if we chose to go that way. And then I had Tracy Turbach, our Director of Finance, review it to see if there was anything that he wanted, anything that didn't look right on the RFP, because you're asking for very specific services. He just made one slight change on there just to make it clear the date that we want the work done, by the end of March, that we'd want to have the report out. Other than that, he didn't have any recommended changes to it. But
Councilor Aguilar.
When was the last time an RFP was put out?
I do not know. I think it was a long time ago. I would venture to say. It's probably many, many years ago. Yeah.
And the normal length is 2-3 years?
Normally we go about 3 years on these things. I think the last one we did was in 2008, and then it expired this year. So that's
Councillor Entman?
that's what I know.
My questions have been answered.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay.
Okay.
Councillor Aguilar?
Well, then if we were to determine that we were not going to go with an RFP, do we still negotiate with Ide Bailey
Yeah, I
then?
think
How
that'd
does
be
that-
the process. We work with the purchasing and attorney's office to negotiate with Ide Bailey to come up with a new agreement, draft a new agreement, and come to terms.
So, Rich, you're, yes, Deborah.
I was just going to say, once then it is drafted, then the council would approve that by resolution in a council meeting. So.
That Deborah, she keeps us on her toes. Councillor Entman?
What was the contract dollar amount?
Off the top of my head, I believe it was around 60 to 65,000. I think was the fee approximately. It's very reasonable. Last time we kind of looked at this, I had done some research for the audit committee to find out what other cities of comparable size spend for their external audit, and we were definitely on the low end. A lot of cities were spending, a city our size, we're spending 80 to 100,000 for an external audit. So I thought we were getting a very, very good price.
And that was for the length of the contract, Rich?
Pardon?
That was 65,000?
That was per year. That was annual. That was an annual cost. Annual cost. Yeah. That wasn't that good. It wasn't 60,000
That was
for
a heck
3
of a
years
deal.
worth. No. So,
If I could ask Jason, do you have any sense or feel on cost? Is that from what you're familiar with at all? I know you probably don't know all the details of what they're doing for the city, but any reference you can give us?
It actually seems like a fairly good price, like Rich
Oh.
said. I would have guessed it to be higher than that
Oh,
based
okay.
on what I have seen recently, but I haven't been involved in city audits for about 18 years, so
Oh, okay.
and
don't
I know
have any good
there's new
input.
audit standards, are there not, that CPA firms have to comply with? I think there's more work now than there was, say, 5-10 years ago.
absolutely, yep.
So, Rich, you're looking for a vote from this group to how to proceed if we want to do an RFP or just kind of go with them, right?
Right. I guess that's the decision to be reached by the committee, what we want to do.
Today.
We don't necessarily have to do it today, but the next time we meet regularly scheduled is July, and then we're kind of pushing it because I think we kind of want to lock somebody in, but that's up to the committee. So
And I would feel comfortable moving forward with an RFP on this one because, number one, because of the length of time it's been, and not because of anything against Ide Bailey. I respect them and the work that they've done, but it's just time, with that amount of time that has elapsed since 1989, it's time to put it out just to see if there's anything else out there.
I would agree. I think it's just part of due diligence
Yep.
to do an RFP at this point.
and it's quite possible they would be the only firm that would turn in, but we don't know that until we ask.
That's right.
We can't assume that there aren't firms out there that would be interested. So
I would move that we put a RFP out on the audit for the year 2012 contract.
yeah, it'd be for the fiscal years ended 2011, 2012, and 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second, Oppegard.
Okay, we have a motion by Councillor Rolfing and seconded by Member Appegard for the issuance of an RFP. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Rich?
Just a note, I will email you a copy of the RFP, and if you want to review it. It's about 5 pages. And then perhaps next week I'll sit down with purchasing and attorneys and see, well, I guess purchasing would help us with this and to see what we need to do to get this on the web and get this out there. So if that's agreeable with the committee.
I would think, yes. All right, very good. We'll move on to item 6, the review of the
Chairman?
audit report.
Chairman, sorry.
I'm sorry?
Quick question. To how broad a geographical area would this go out?
Well, we put it on the web so anybody but could look at it, obviously. But I'll talk to purchasing. I think they normally, if they have interested parties, they typically have a list. But since we haven't done an RFP, I don't know, I'd be surprised if they have a list of external audit service providers. So perhaps we could sit down with Scott Rust and say, let's, send it to all, maybe the CPA Society or some appropriate mechanism, so that we don't just depend on a CPA firm. Oh, I just happened to look at the city website and saw this.
Okay.
Yeah. Look into Iowa and Minnesota too. I know, there's firms in Sioux City and, for example, that aren't that far from Sioux Falls and that might be interested. So.
All right, very good, Rich.
Okay.
Move on to item 6, so the review of the audit report 11-06 fraud hotline activity.
Yeah, you should have, I sent you an electronic copy, and you should have the hard copy in front of you. We have never done a report on activity on the hotline, but I thought it was time. As you can see on page 3, we don't have a lot of calls, but we do have some calls. And I just tried to give you a history, especially for those who are new to the audit committee, of how we came up with this service provider. It was based upon an audit recommendation, one of our very first audit projects, I think in 2007. We did a fraud risk assessment, and the recommendation was that the city council fund a hotline service provider, which they did. And I think it went live in 2008. And you can see on page 4 at the top there what we've done to let city employees know of the hotline. Letters to their home address. We've done that twice. Bulletin board placards in break rooms. We put it on the city intranet. And right now it's only available to city employees. That was kind of the decision. I mean, so far that's been the decision of the council and audit committee is just to have it available to city employees. There are some cities and counties that will make it available to the public. We haven't chosen to do that, but anyway. So if there's any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer those.
Councilor Aguilar.
So that means that anyone that the city has a contract with cannot be utilized in that manner.
No, they're not usually notified of it. I know there are some cities and counties that will do that. For example, they will maybe send letters out to some of their larger vendors, or they'll actually sometimes print it on the accounts payable checks. It's kind of an interesting way to do it. Some cities will put it on the internet site that the public can see. They'll have a place there that people can call.
Councilor Intamin.
I do believe this is one of those best practice things, and for a relatively small amount of money, I think that this is one of those things that we need to continue with. And I was very pleased with the audit, and it's very interesting to see that it only has really been used 4 times in 4 cases. So I think it's a great deal for the city.
And the reason for that, I mean, there's several reasons for that. It could be because there's nothing to report, which we all hope would be the case. We all hope that that's the case. It could be that city employees are not necessarily aware of it, or it could be that they know about it, but they don't trust it and they don't want to call. But we don't know. I mean, it's just the facts are the facts. So,
I have a question and a comment. At one point, we were getting a bit of pushback on how we publicized the availability of that telephone number.
yes.
How's that been lately?
With the new administration, that changed considerably. So.
Okay, good. Then the other thought that comes to mind, you mentioned sort of offhandedly that some entities put it on their AP checks. It seems to me that if we have a mechanism within the city that provides for anonymous reporting of code violations, parking, et cetera, that the ability for the greater public to report things of this nature might not be something to dismiss so quickly.
Deborah. How should I refer to Deborah? People help me.
Let's be
Should
careful on that one. If I could, the perfect, yeah. Why are you squeezing your eyes so tight? Well, you're laughing. A perfect segue from committee member Oppegard is, my question to Rich had to do, what if we did have a caller from a non-city employee? You know, what if we had a vendor or perhaps a citizen? Would they still be able to call in and utilize the fraud hotline? Or is there a mechanism that would need to change for them to receive those calls, or is that just we don't make that number available to the general public?
Well, we haven't decided to make it available. However, I think, I believe the Argus Leader did a report maybe a year or two ago, and maybe, I think they put the number in the paper one time. Haven't had any calls from outside of that. We're not city employees. It isn't like we would say, you know, I'm sorry, I can't accept your call. You know, I don't personally take the calls. It's answered by the service provider, which is located in Georgia. And so when they get the call, it's on the computer screen, and they know that number is unique to Sioux Falls. So they know it's that number coming in is from City of Sioux Falls. They don't know if it's an employee or a vendor. I think they ask and put that in the report, but certainly we would certainly investigate anything that came in from outside.
Councilor Rolfing.
It's the way he does it, he looks at you and says, Councilor Rolfing. Yeah. Is there, my question would be, is there any additional cost to this if we would promote this number more to our vendors or to anyone else?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, I'm thinking it might, because when we set this up, they want to know how many city employees we have. So I imagine that's how they do the pricing. If they're doing, Ford Motor Company, they're going to pay a lot more than City of Sioux Falls. They're not going to give, say, Ford Motor Company the service for less than $2,000 a year. So I would think if they would anticipate the volume of calls that might go up, that they would ask for more money.
Councilor Aguilar.
So what would the process be for us to investigate expanding it to others, such as vendors and even citizens?
I think I would, if you want me to look into that, I would simply call my liaison at the network and just ask them if we made this available to the public, what would the difference in price be?
And then would it take action of the council, or
If we were going to spend money,
Yeah.
just, would that be the only thing, the allocation of funds, or
Yeah.
also if
Because
it
we don't,
was-
the money is budgeted in the audit committee's budget, which is under the city council. It's in our cost center, and that's what we have budgeted is what they're currently charging. So,
city staff, Owen.
Thank you, Chairman Jameson. I just wanted to update on how that was. The contract was an RFP was issued by the council several years ago, and then this client was the one or the vendor was selected, and then the council has been overseeing that contract, and the budget authority or the spending is in your Division 3 of Internal Audit, but all under your department, for lack of a better word. But hopefully that helped explains it all.
If I think I'm gathering the will of the committee is to investigate at least and see if there is an additional cost and what it is, and then
okay. You get
Rich
back
could report that back to us.
at the next meeting.
Yeah, and the scope of the services too. I mean, if we
yeah.
do open this up more for the, for others, I'm assuming they would have some kind of recommendations as far as the services.
Yeah, I think they would. I think they would
Yeah.
give me some advice on what other clients are doing.
Sure.
Because they are, I believe, the largest provider in the United States, or one of the largest, so they have lots and lots of corporate and government clients. So,
Okay.
Okay, very good. I think that's good direction for Rich. Was there anything else, Rich, though, that we needed to cover on the activity report? Were there any items that were...
yeah, I wasn't terribly specific because some of it's kind of confidential, but I think you get the gist of what we do. And as I said, I get an email report from the service with the details, and then investigate it from there on.
Okay. If there's no other questions, that was just an update, so we don't need to vote on that.
No.
Okay, then we'll move into item number 8, a request from Rich to attend a...
No, number 7 there.
Oh, 7.
Yep.
Okay, 7, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, an update to committee members on status of current audit projects. That'd
Yeah.
be good.
Shouldn't take long. Tim is working on the arena.
I'm sorry. I think is this report moving on to council as a whole from the fraud hotline report?
No, it has not gone to.
before it does, I think it needs to have a vote of the committee to approve
To
it,
approve
to
it?
move on to
Yeah, I
the
think you're right.
council.
I
So
think you're right, Deborah. Yeah.
if you could.
Motion.
Okay, so we do need to approve the fraud hotline activity report.
I move we accept the report.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Intiman, seconded by Councilor Aguilar to accept the fraud hotline activity report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, very good. Thank you, Deborah. Okay, item 7, an
Okay.
update on the...
Currently, Tim, our staff auditor, he's working on the Arena Convention Center audit, and we'll be drafting a report soon. We should have that ready by our next scheduled meeting, which is in July. And then our other auditor, Jeff Weber, is working on the police cash handling project. He'll have a number of recommendations, and he'll be have his draft report done this week, and we'll review it in our staff, and that should be available for our next audit committee meeting. And that's where we're at right now. So.
Could you repeat those again? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
that
thought
was
they
the
were
police cash handling,
listed. Okay.
and then the Arena and Orpheum management agreement. That's SMG is managing that those facilities. So.
Okay, and the Arena and the Orpheum SMG management agreement, their term is up pretty soon here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 2012, right? December. I think Tim will check, but I think it's December of next year. So.
And how long will it take you to get through that?
You should have a report at our next committee meeting in July.
Oh,
Yeah, it should be. Yeah,
all right.
yeah that is December of 2012 is when that SMG contract expires. So
Okay, so
next year.
But next meeting you'll give it.
Next meeting, you should have the report done with the response from management. So.
Councilor Aguilar.
Do both of the management contracts end at the same time between
Yes.
Global
Yes,
and
that was
SMG?
done on purpose. That was yes, they do.
Thank you.
Okay, that was just an update.
Yeah, it's just an update.
Okay, item 8 now.
Okay,
Rich.
good stuff here. You should have in front of you, it just says training seminar for Rich Oaksall. It's just a request. Because we go out of state, we have to get a travel request approved by council leadership. So I'm required to get 40 hours of continuing education a year to maintain a CPA license. This is some good training. I would leave early on a Monday morning, say 5:30, get down there. I think it starts at 8 o'clock approximately, and then just drive back the same day. So the cost would be the seminar for one day, it's $125. It'd be some per diem, and then the mileage. So cost is a little bit less than $300, and right now in our training budget that we have remaining, we have just over $1,100 in our training budget right now. So I'm requesting permission to attend the seminar.
I would move approval. Anybody who wants to go to Council Bluffs may go.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Aguilar and seconded by Member Appegard to approve the request from Rich Oaksall for travel. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. And now if that would then go on to council leadership to approve, or
Yeah.
just they'll sign for it?
If I may,
Yes.
Chairman Jameson, absolutely. The clerk staff will help arrange usually they help arrange all those
Okay.
travel arrangements, but there will be no overnight. So they'll prepare a travel reimbursement form, and then council leadership will sign that form.
Very good. Okay, we do have an executive session request, I believe, and I believe
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we go into executive session pursuant to personal issue SDCL 1-25-21. Is that the way we need to do it?
you bet at 4:25, and seconded by Councilor Aguilar. By Rolfing, seconded by Councilor Aguilar to go into executive session at 4:25. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're in executive session, and we'll need to